Today I want to show you a tool that I've been working on for the last week or so. It's a factory planning tool which enables you to create highly modular factory designs or floors in a mega factory. It's the same kind of principle, ensuring that you're able to fully plan out your factory before you start building it in game. The biggest problem I find while playing Satisfactory is that you simply just don't know what I need to build and how much of it I need to build. There are tools such as Satisfactory tools that help you understand this problem, but I find that it doesn't show you any kind of groupings or how to build them in a factory. So this tool aims to solve that problem by allowing you to create a factory design and then tell it how much of each item that you want to produce and where you want to send those products to go further down the production chains. So my tool isn't designed to replace Satisfactory tools. So, for example, to call an example here, I've got a very complicated ballistic warp drive, whatever factory. It's got all the groups and all that, all linked together. That's great. I understand now roughly how much I need to produce of what. So, for example, say we've got singularity cells, etc., etc. But I have no idea how to, from all this, unless you're very experienced, unlike me, how to break all this up into logical groups of products which you manufacture in a certain place and then ship the products to somewhere else. This may be more for modular designed factories, and maybe not so much applicable for mega factories, who knows. But in my case, I like to go modular because I like to sort of build things in separate places and build them where contextually it makes sense, such as the resources and stuff like that. So I'm going to take you through my tool. A very simple example of a factory making ingots, iron ingots in this case, and then supplying two other factories to create products of those ingots. So very simply, that's the very first thing we do is name it iron ingots. And then we add a product called iron ingot, obviously. So what this differs from, say, Satisfactory Logistics, for example, which does a very similar thing to what I'm doing, but I've gone a step further by actually supplying the recipes. I don't believe Satisfactory Logistics does this, and I can see why, because it was a pain in the ass to do. So I can actually select the recipe, and doing so, I've pulled in the game's data, and it obviously knows what it needs to do to make it happen. And I've added contextual things like how many buildings you need. So I like to create it in ratios of 16 smelters. So in this case, 32. And that's all I'm doing for this factory. It's just simply creating iron ingots, sorry. Now I've got a concept of raw resources where it seemed a little pointless to require users to create an iron mine factory, quote unquote factory. So what I've done here is I've made, some may say a large assumption, but a decent assumption of the player will just make sure they feed the factory properly with the amount of raw resources needed. So for example, steel, this would be iron ore and coal. I'm assuming here that people can do simple math on 240 for a Mark II miner with I think 200% overclock or whatever. So it doesn't do everything for you, but the raw resources is the exception to the rule here. Everything else will sort of do all the dependency management stuff. So you notice here very simply that the factory requires 960 iron ore. Very simple. This is the simplest example I can make. And it gives you some contextual information such as how many smelters you need and how much power it's going to make. This does not factor in overclocking yet. I do plan to do it, but it's a whole different kettle of fish. So let's go and make our new factory. Another factory, sorry. So let's make an iron plate factory. And we're going to create... Let's see how many plates we're going to make. Let's make 620 plates. No, 640 plates. There you go. It's in my nice little 32 constructor ratio there. So you notice here, this is now red. Why is it red? Because it doesn't have any form of input. So imagine this is literally a factory you've built in the middle of nowhere, and all it has is the constructors built. It has no means to produce anything because it doesn't have the iron ingots to produce it with. So we add an import. So from our import that we just made on our new iron factory earlier on, we import iron ingots. And we have two options here. We can either specify a value that we want ourselves, 600 for example, or we can just press this button and it will automatically just make it work. Now you notice up here, it's gone red. The whole factory should be red, but there's a little bug there. But this has gone red. We now have a shortage of 960 a minute. Let's just check the math on that. So 1920 take 960. Yeah, 960. So I'm going to colour another example. Oops, that's not didn't want to open Spotify. So I'm going to add an iron rod factory. Iron rods. Same again. And let's make a random number of this. 420. 420. So again, we're going to import iron ingots. Iron ingot. And let's just press that button to make it work. And that's that. Now you'll notice that we've got an even bigger shortage. So this factory, quite simply, is just not producing enough. And this is a big problem that I used to face a lot with playing the game, is that I'd go in Satisfactory Tools, I'd make effectively the equivalent of the factory, wherever it may be, here, for example, right? So we got steel iron ingots, right? So I'd create it to this specification, but then something else might need more iron ingots, or the recipe might change, or I might say, crap, okay, so actually I want to equalize iron rods a bit more, so I add a few more constructors to that, which then further up the production chain you go, and the more demand you add to the production chain, the more it's going to trickle down to the base resource products. Now, unless you're constantly, in a complex thing like this, constantly checking each and every single node, you're not going to know if you're underproducing anywhere. My tool plans to resolve that. So you'll instantly know, and what should be happening here is that this thing should be, actually I can simulate it. There you go. So there's a slight bug where it doesn't do it unless you change something on the factory, but it now tells you there's a problem. And imagine if you've got loads of factories on this, all interlinked, all connected together, all doing different things, and suddenly you have a shortage somewhere. This tool will tell you the shortage, and you can go ahead and fix the shortage and refactor your factory to make it work again. That's the whole premise of this tool. This is a very, very early version of it. I do intend to do like a graphical format of a graph. I've added some convenience things where you can sort of expand them all or hide all the factories and stuff like that, just to sort of not have to do a graph just yet, but we can reorder things further up and down. You can do it here as well, just very nice and convenient. Oh, you can click these as well, it'll jump. That's a bit of a better, this show all, and go to that factory, rename it to FooFac. Go back up here, you can then also jump straight to the factory. So I think I've made it enough where you can sort of navigate fairly well. I do plan though to make a very similar visualization to this, whereas rather than it being a resource, it's basically a factory per visualization, per node. That's the idea. And obviously it does very nice things that tells you exactly what you need to do and stuff like that. So there it is. I'm very open to feedback for this. This will be an open source project. I've not got a live link just yet for people to play with, but please do offer feedback on Reddit here, and I will endeavour to get this up within the next week or so. Thank you.